How do you quit your full-time job and take your author business full-time? I did a video on why I quit my job, and someone asked on there, how do you actually do it though? How do you go from having a full-time income and a side business like an author business, and then quitting your job and taking that side business full-time? I'm going to share like the nuts and bolts and how I actually made that work and the numbers that you should use and maybe what would have done differently on this. When I was thinking about this video, I started cheating and almost scripting it out of my head. And I said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So I do have notes. And if you notice any jumps or skips in the video, it's just because I have like 5 minutes of staring off into the distance with nothing to say because I'm trying to frame my thoughts around this as I go. I promise Jessica will be back in the videos at some point. It's just hard to get the schedules to line up to do these on a regular basis. So I'd rather be consistent with just me than sporadic with me and her. So for now, you're stuck with me. So whenever you're thinking about quitting your full-time job and taking your author business full-time, the first thing you have to figure out is what your number is. How much do you need your author business to be bringing in order to support you full-time? And to know that, you have to know like what your personal income needs to be from this. And it's not going to necessarily be your gross income from your paycheck. So for example, if you're making $75,000 before any withholdings, like that's your salary from your day job, you don't necessarily need to have a $75,000 owner's pay from your business. The reason is we're doing profit first with our clients. And if you check out the profit first video that if I can get fancy enough, I'll link somewhere on here. But if you're doing profit first, we're going to set a percentage of your income aside for taxes and another percentage of your income aside for owner's pay. So your paycheck, your net paycheck that you're getting from your day job right now, it has taxes taken out already of that 75,000. So if we're setting taxes aside over here, you don't have to have that same amount of gross income as your owner's pay over here from the owner's pay account. Now, if you have things like health insurance or 401k that you would like to continue contributing to, or if you're going to have to pay for your health insurance out of your take-home pay from your author business, and that's going to be a whole other fiasco. Health insurance is just a dumpster fire. It's so expensive. It's just, sorry, whole different video there. But health insurance is going to have to be considered in your owner's pay. So that might be a little bit of math to do. But assuming the only thing that's being deducted from your paycheck right now is taxes, then you can just use whatever your take-home pay is from your day job. You can get that from your pay stub. So we take our take-home pay, and then how do we figure out how much we need from our business, like how much income we need to earn to support that amount of take-home pay? In the profit first system, we assume that a healthy business is spending about half of its income on labor costs. And in the beginning, all the labor costs are essentially your owner's pay. So if you need, let's say, $60,000 of owner's pay, then your business would have to generate $120,000 of income to support that $60,000 of owner's pay, because that's half of 120. So once you have that number and you know that your business needs to generate $120,000 of income, then you got to start figuring out like the math behind this. How do you get to $120,000 of income? I'll do a whole other video on deep like KPIs and metrics to track, but this is like a preview of that. So if you need $120,000 of income and you know that your average order value is say $25, then you need 4,800 orders to generate $120,000 of income. And if you need 4,800 orders and you know that your conversion rate is like 1%, then you know you need 480,000 leads or people coming to your website in order to generate about $4,800 orders to get $120,000 of income. This is assuming you're doing direct sales and that you have like your own website. If you're doing things just on Amazon, you're gonna be limited on the amount of data you need here. So just kind of use your best guess based on the data you have. But assuming you have direct sales, Shopify, things like that, you would just basically build this funnel to figure out what do you need at the beginning of the funnel in order to get to the number you need at the end of the funnel. So if you're doing ad spend and you know you need 480,000 people coming to your website, then you can figure out how many ads or what kind of ad spend is that going to be. If you're doing things organically and you're doing newsletters or Instagram followers or whatever it is that you know leads to a sale, that's where you're going to direct all of your attention to get to that number so that you can get to the sales number you need. But what if that is just insurmountable? Like there's no way you can get to that many leads or that many sales using the amount of time that you have right now. If that's the case, we can start tweaking things. So just work up the ladder there, work up that funnel and figure out what numbers can change. If you have a $25 average order value, can you increase that somehow? Could you raise your prices? Let me get on a soapbox for just a second. I wasn't going to do this in this video, but maybe I'll edit this out. So you might not even hear this. McDonald's has raised their prices by like 40% from 2019 to 2022. And I know that was COVID years, but the prices haven't come down any. Meanwhile, book prices have stayed stagnant. Like they just haven't moved in the last 20 years. So why does McDonald's get to charge so much more for their stuff, but others are stuck charging the same thing that they charged 20 years ago? It's not because McDonald's is just such great food and great quality and good service, and you just feel so good about yourself whenever you leave, right? But your book is worth more than a Big Mac. Like, your story is leaving a lasting impact on people's lives. So make sure you're charging what you're worth. Make sure you're charging what your story is worth, because it's worth it. Anyway, that's my soapbox on pricing. So maybe you could increase your prices to get your average order value up. Maybe you just need more books written to be able to have bundles to sell to get that average order value up. Or maybe you can get read-through rate that way. So maybe all your time needs to be spent writing and tracking these numbers along the way to know that you're on the right track. But if you can increase your average order value, then if you can increase your conversion rate by maybe optimizing your store, changing your blurb, changing the color of the button, even doing all those things that people tell you to do to get people to actually buy from you, and you keep going down the list like that of the things that you can tweak, it ends up making some really big exponential changes to where maybe you don't need 480,000 people coming to your website. Maybe you only need 200,000 or 100,000 once you start implementing those changes. Next, the other thing is make sure you're looking at your personal budget. Maybe you are making 75,000 now and you're taking home 60,000, but maybe you can do some things in your personal budget, at least just temporarily, where you don't necessarily need that 60,000 for a while. Maybe for a year, we can cut some things out to whittle that number down a little bit. So, okay, let's say we have our number. We know it's 60,000. We know that we need 120,000 of revenue. We've done all the optimizing that we can do to get our income as high as possible. What do we do next? How do we actually make that jump? So here's the cool part. This is what I like about Profit First. Whenever you have your owner's pay bank account in the Profit First system, you're going to be putting 50% of your business revenue into that bank account every single month. If it was $10 that you had in business revenue, you're going to put $5 in the owner's pay account. If it was $10,000 in revenue, you're going to put $5,000 in the owner's pay account. Now, while you're building this business on the side and your whole goal is to quit your day job and take this business full time, I would consider actually not taking the owner's pay out of the owner's pay bank account and into your personal account during that time. We're assuming right now that you're living comfortably on whatever you're currently making without the author business stuff. Because if you need the author business stuff right now to supplement your day job, then that's going to change all the numbers anyway. But as much as possible, let's leave the money in the owner's pay bank account within your author business and leave it there for as long as possible. Let it grow as big as possible. The goal here is once you see that account grow to a certain size, let's say 6 months worth of whatever you need as your owner's pay. So maybe it's $30,000. Then when you leave your day job, you've built yourself a ramp. You now have $30,000 to live on, even if your business doesn't produce a single dollar of income. So whenever you're looking at your numbers and you can see that when I do this, it translates to sales this much later. So when I post on Instagram consistently, whenever I run ads, whenever I do newsletter swaps, whatever it is that you've decided you do to generate sales, when you know that you do those things and it generates sales later, and you can identify like, hey, I'm tapped out on the amount of time that I could put into this activity while still working at this day job. And if I wasn't working at this day job, then I know that I could spend this much more time doing this other thing, and that'll translate to this growth in sales based on the data. Then you'll know how long of a ramp you need in that owner's pay account. So let's say it's 6 months that you need to be able to just devote all your time to this business to make it make sense from wherever it is now to where it needs to be in 6 months. Then if you have that 30,000 or whatever that take home pay is for that time period in that owner's pay bank account, then you can just fund your own owner's pay during that time. The cool thing is you'll be growing your revenue during that time too. So you won't need to totally deplete it by the time your business gets up to the level it needs to be. So you're always going to have this cushion here to help you through if there's any dips or anything that happens. So you have that safety net there. Is that making sense? Am I overcomplicating this? Basically just take 50% of your revenue, put it in an owner's pay bank account. Don't touch it for as long as you can. Let it grow to the point that you have enough money there, that you have a long enough ramp based on the data that you're seeing while waiting for your business to grow to where it needs to be to support you on a regular basis. So if I was going to recap this, I would say figure out what you need for your take home pay, get that number as low as possible by cutting as many expenses as you can, then start reverse engineering how much you need your business to actually earn and what activities are going to get you to that. Then start building up an owner's pay bank account as a reserve to build yourself a ramp so that you have a cushion there whenever you do finally leave your day job to take your author business full time. I hope this was helpful. I do have some other ideas for future videos, but if you have anything specific you'd like me to cover, put that in the comments. Make sure you join the newsletter that's in the description because that's where you can ask questions and get even more information from me. And I will see you next time.